To wrap up our workshop session today, let's welcome Balal, co-founder and head of growth at zkex.com, with the topic Building Community and Growth. Welcome on stage.
I have a confession. I do not have a PowerPoint presentation. I went to this party last night and I was standing in the corner quietly because I had this realization that I had messed up big time. I thought today was going to be a 1.5 hour workshop, so I had all these slides and all this prep content. Then I looked at the actual schedule and I had 30 minutes. I was like, oh man, I've totally messed up. So I was just sitting in this party normally. Normally I talk to everyone, I'm like so social, but yesterday I was standing in the corner thinking, what am I going to do tomorrow? Like, what will I talk about? How can I keep these guys engaged for 30 minutes and shred down my content? How do I tell them how to grow a startup in 30 minutes? I thought it's impossible. So I'm going to make it really, really simple. We're going to talk about you guys, basically. I want you guys to do some intro thinking, to think about who you are as a person and what the hell you're doing. Now, let me introduce myself. I want to talk a little bit about community growth, and it's really, really, really about you. You as a person, and you as a team of what the hell you're trying to do. Now, the question is, what's your underlying motivation of who you are and what you're trying to do? If we're honest with ourselves, no one talks about this in any conference. We are here to make money, right? If you're not here to make money and become rich, you are in the wrong industry. Seriously, this is the industry to make money. But, should you do it in a good way or a bad way? And honestly speaking, there are a lot of scammers in our industry. I swear to God, half the people in this room are probably scammers. You don't even realize it. Look at the person to your right. Look in their eyes. You're probably looking at a scammer. Maybe. Hopefully you're the honest one. But do you do it in a good way or a bad way? And I wanted to give you guys 9 questions to think very, very carefully about what you're doing. First one is, why do you care? What are you doing? Okay, fine, you're trying to make money, but we do it in a good way, right? But what is your underlying motivation in the future? That you want to, when you have a project, do you want to give it up, give it to the world in a very altruistic kind of way, or are you trying to do something short term? Now, for us, our team at ZKEX, we come from a very deep technical background. And to tell you guys a little bit about us, we are a small team of about 8 people, and we freaking hate scammers. I swear to God, that's the underlying motivation. Whenever we meet with anyone, we always ask us a question, is this person a scammer? And we hate people who steal money as well. We hate thieves. But we want to make money in a good way. So our underlying motivation is basically that we want to become legends, like in the industry. And that's our underlying motivation. Money is kind of part of the process as well. Now, for you, what are you trying to do? Why do you care about this project you're doing? And the question comes in like, when you have a really, really good product, it gives you the confidence to behave in a certain way, which actually leads to the way you communicate with people, whether it's a partner or your community and or the media. The way you communicate is really, really important because it gives you the confidence that you have something really, really cool. So to give you a really good example is, if anyone has gone on a date and you've realized that the other person likes you more than you like them, it automatically gives you this confidence inside you that you start acting a little bit toxic. Like when they text you, you're like, oh, I'll text them later. You know, but when you like the other person, you're the one doing the chasing. You're texting them like immediately as soon as they respond, right? But when you're the hot one, like you just kind of slow down. And as a startup, I swear to God, it's the same way. When you are the hot shit, then people are chasing you, and you don't have to chase them. And it very much depends in terms of your attitude of how you communicate. I don't encourage you guys to be toxic. That's disgusting. But it does give you the confidence to talk in a certain way. What's up with this slide, man? Like it keeps moving. So you ask yourself the really big question, like what is the big picture? Like what is your attitude to what you're trying to build? Like is everyone on your team have the same attitude as well as you do? Is everyone very, very clear about what exactly you're doing? And are you building for the short term or the long term? And are you actually trying to build for a real use case that is actually going to help people in the world. Not like create some problem and create some solution like a lot of people do in crypto that no, in the end you know it's not really going to work. I swear it's order moving, it's not really me. I'm not pressing this button anymore. Okay, thank you though. So you think very carefully, like if you guys are all aligned in your team, you know each other very well, you have the same attitude, motivation for your project, but are you structured in the right way? So how is your team structured? And the way crypto should be is that you should be as decentralized as possible. Like there are some crypto projects which are very centralized, such as Coinbase, which are fairly trustworthy, but like we've seen very recently, can you really trust them? And the answer is probably not. Most crypto projects are moving towards decentralization, not only of the actual product, but also of the team as well, so that you're all kind of like community-owned, community-run, essentially. But it's very, very few projects who actually like that, because in the early days, I think there has to be a degree of centralization, and even ZKEX, our infrastructure is decentralized, but our team is centralized at the moment. But in the future, maybe we'll have a DAO. So our priority was the infrastructure first, because we're building a multi-chain order book DEX. We're basically trying to build an alternative to Binance, to Coinbase, and to other CEXs, but fully decentralized. So it's completely self-custodial. This is a boring story because everyone's going self-custodial, but we had this idea like well over a year ago that that's where the industry is going to go. And we're using ZK rollups for security, so it's super secure. You can't be censored. It's completely private. So we have all these kind of beautiful use cases, but as a team, we have to be centralized because the community isn't there yet. We don't trust the community yet to actually build it out, but we need them to build with. So there's a big change in governance, and a lot of organizations are at quite flat, and you think of yourself more not really of like a kind of like a builder, but more of a gardener when it comes to working with your community, so that you kind of build the frameworks, the permits, and the regulations for your community for the long term. But initially, you have very strong control. So your branding is also part of that too. All right, so in terms of your competitive mode, you have this like idea, but you think very carefully about what exactly it is that it makes you stand out from the competition. And in DeFi and other Web3 projects, usually it's liquidity. So if you're building, for example, our own example is as a DEX, as a crypto kind of trading platform, liquidity is the most important thing. But it's very easy to get liquidity, very easy to lose liquidity. So it's not really a very strong competitive mode, even though it is important for us. What we realize is that even the technology, I think we have like a 1 year advanced ahead of any other DEX that can do something similar to what we're doing. Honestly, we have a 1 year head start, but within a year, some team, maybe one of you guys might catch up. So the technology is not really a competitive mode at the moment. For example, when Uniswap was forked into SushiSwap, a lot of people moved over to SushiSwap. They lost users, even though they're both growing as projects. But this vampire type attack is like, you do have the idea that you might lose users. And that leads to composability as well. Composability is the ability to kind of split yourself up and have duplicates of yourself without actually harming your protocol. So for ZKEX, our composability is basically the ability to white label our exchange. And if you're a GameFi project, you can have your own ZKEX DEX inside your project or any other kind of project. And ZKEX itself becomes invisible, it's under the hood, and the protocol becomes most important. Now, when you actually have that competitive mode, you have an idea of what it is that's special about you. Then you think, okay, what about the product market fit? And this is like the thing that keeps me up at night time. I am so scared that we don't have product market fit. And to tell you the honest truth, right now I don't really know. We're in testnet phase, we're not live. So all the users we have, like 40,000 people who are testing our product, I don't know if who they are really. I don't have a very detailed view if they're actually going to stay with us when we go live, or are they just here for some other ulterior reason. And it's only when you actually go live. The ultimate test is when you go live, people actually using it on a regular basis. And at least to try and map that out as close as possible, you do some persona building. Meaning it's like you have a fictitious user in mind, and for us, if we're very truthful, average retail people can't use ZKEX right now. It's too complicated. Traders right now have left the market. So the average guy or girl who's going to use ZKEX in the future is going to be this DeFi guy, DeFi person who uses DeFi. So they use MetaMask, They buy crypto, they buy NFTs, they're kind of a little bit technical, a little bit nerdy, and they like to experiment with projects. So those people have certain fears, certain worries in their mind. For example, or most recently, they're scared about losing custody of their assets. Managing assets across all these different chains is a pain in the ass. You guys have like stable coins and tokens across like BNB, Avalanche, and ETH, and whatever. I lost track of where my money is, to be honest. I have no idea. And it's like, that's a pain in the butt. And they're also worried about like the bridging hacks and losing money on their wallet, all that kind of stuff. And they really hate gas fees. Everyone freaking hates gas fees and slippage, right, on DEXs. So that's the pain points. We think, oh, we can actually kind of solve that, right? So what features do we have? Like first off, like we have self-custody. If all the money's in your wallet. We aggregate all the stable coins together from different chains into one pot called USD. And you can use that USD to buy anything from anywhere. So if you want to use your USD to buy on a token on Ethereum or Avalanche, you do it in one place. It's kind of the same thing as a CEX, but it's decentralized. And the last thing is we have no gas fees. So we had a very, very clear thing in mind that we have like the user in mind, the pain points, and what features we have to solve that problem. The benefit, of course, of us is that you can't lose your money on ZKX. And that leads to our marketing, right? Our growth. The actual attractive thing is you cannot get hacked on ZKEX. Very confidently I'll say that. Hopefully we won't get assassinated this time next year like SBF, but honestly we can't steal. We can't steal your money. Even we can't steal your money. And it saves you time and hassle when you're trading, right? But all this bridging stuff from chain to chain, and it's a nightmare. I hate this stuff. I just want to buy and sell in one place, right? So time and hassle is saved. You have peace of mind as well, essentially, about all this hacking stuff as well. And we save you money. Like, there's no gas fees, right? And it's instant native buying and selling as well. So like, no hassle basically on that side too. So you have all these kind of core concepts in your project, but you think very carefully about your community, and you think very carefully about what community is. And honestly speaking, community is a product. It's not only the actual app you're making, but community is a product, because it is one of your competitive moats in the future. If you have a badass, beautiful, lovely community that even you love your community as well, you truly love them and care for them, then it becomes a massive competitive moat. Because for example, in DeFi and GameFi, people follow liquidity, right? But they will not leave you if they have an amazing experience and a social experience in your app. But we've seen over and over again, like I said at the very beginning, what are you trying to do? Something short term or something long term? If you want to build for the long term, you have to build your community to the point where you freaking love the people so much that you're willing to sacrifice for them, and the people know it. It's like you kind of love them. You know, is anyone here married or in a long-term relationship? You know what love is, actually? Love is the feeling that the other person has your back. That's a feeling, and everything good starts from that. Like, if you are in love with someone, it means that you have their back and they have yours. So even you have the feeling from your community that they actually care about us. Like, we're building for them and we love them and they love us back. That's a competitive mode. All the projects that failed over the last few years is because the community was bullshit, like just nonsense, and just like pretend to be good community members. But the users are only there for liquidity, and they run out chasing the yield and they leave you immediately. So that's a really, really important thing. Now, what are we doing in terms of community? So we actually have a really important thing about culture. Like, the way we behave on our social channels is quite down to earth and very friendly and very direct. All our team members are there doing their own thing. And the most important thing for us is that when we onboard a mod, we have about 15 mods, we do a one-to-one session with them to really understand who they are as people. So we actually are very careful about who we select as mods. And then in terms of the organization as well, we try to give them as much power as possible, and we trust them by default to go do the right thing. But in terms of a community, like, if any random person comes to our community and joins, then that's not a good thing, because if you're a shitty person, you can make it toxic, like, very easily. And if you're a good person, have you guys ever been in a community where there's like toxic people and think, oh, forget this project, I hate these people, it's nonsense, like people talking shit, right? You leave very quickly. So what we have is, the most important thing for your community is to have certain circles or membership tiers or like groups. And it's actually quite hard to go from one group to another. So we have these three groups called ZK Newbies, ZK Friends, and ZK OG. And it's really hard to get from one to another. And we didn't even launch ZK OG yet. ZK OG for us is going to be like this premium gold standard where you have to apply to get in, and we're going to onboard you. And if you do, you get a lot of rewards. You have an NFT with lots of like loaded rewards. You get airdrops, all kinds of stuff. But these members, if you misbehave, you can get kicked out or drop down to the below one. So in terms of your community as a product, to make it exclusive, you have to make it hard, like easy to join, but then hard to level up. So that makes it more attractive. Like if you ever gone on a date and the other person is like way too available, you think, why are they so available? Does no one else want them? And when someone is too available and no one else wants that thing or person, then it makes you think that is what I'm chasing really valuable in the first place? Because you have limited time, and maybe if you're a great person, you have lots of options as well. So you want to be with someone in a dating world that other people are chasing down as well, but you're lucky enough to get in. So that's the key thing with community as well. It's like that feeling of being special is really, really important. You will stay with that community if you're one of the special ones, but you leave if you're just an ordinary guy on the street. So in terms of growth sources, like when you have this very cool, product, then do you know there's like a lot of like spreadsheets and a lot of information about the growth sources. But actually, there are only 6. Probably only three to six growth sources. And so when your co-founder or your team comes to you and says, dude, like how do we get growth? You only have 6 potential sources and you gotta pick one. And it's very tempting to pick 1, 2, 3, 4 different growth sources and promise to your team, hey man, we're gonna like have 1 million followers on Twitter by this time next year. But actually that's bullshit. It's absolutely, you have to pick one. It's very hard to pick one. Those six sources, basically the first one is paid advertising. The second is going viral. Third one is content. The fourth one is partnerships. The fifth one is PR and media. And the sixth one is using tokenomics as your growth model. Now, you probably have a misunderstanding about those 6. Now, what I will do is, the reason I put my... Oh, now it doesn't want to work? What happened? Okay, there we go. The reason I've actually got my ID here is I've written a report for this thing, but I don't have time to give you guys all the sources and all the references and all the detail. But so if you just DM me, either in Twitter or Telegram, then I will send you the report. Okay, so basically you guys probably have the misunderstanding, and for you to justify to your co-founder or to your team that we're gonna pick one, like let's say you double down on like, let's go viral. That's gonna be our growth strategy. Like other people say, no, what about content, yo? What about SEO? And like, what about partnership ecosystem growth? And what about like airdropping? Like you just be hit by all these questions. You need to have a very clear understanding about who you are in the marketplace, what the market is doing right now, and so you gotta pick one growth strategy at a time. If you're amazing, you can pick 2. Now, I'll give you a really quick example. Like this viral is like, I get questioned all the time by my team, like, why do you make like a viral tweet, man? Like that goes like viral. I'm like, it's not that easy. And that's kind of by luck. What viral actually is actually these growth strategies are connected to your product. A viral growth strategy is a natural fit when, for example, your product is used by not only you, but also your friends and family. Like social media is a classic viral strategy where if you're on it and you tell your friends about it and they want to get on it too, that's viral. It's not about like becoming famous and doing a TikTok video and like, oh, got 3 million views. That's not viral. It means that your product is really fun to use and you want to tell all your friends and family, yo, like I have this amazing game. It's so much fun. You guys want to join it? That's your growth strategy. So like, for example, gamify, which a lot of people here are into, that would be like your core thing to make your game so much fun and so easily shareable that people are addicted to it and they want to tell everyone. You don't have to worry about the other 5 sources, even though they're part of your strategy long term, but immediately you pick one strategy, that would be like that. That would be that one. And for us, we don't know which one to do at the moment. So when you're really, really new, you try a little bit about all those 6 growth strategies. You try a little bit of paid marketing, you try a little bit of viral, you try a little bit of content, right? Try a little bit of partnerships, a little bit of PR media, a little bit of tokenomics, and then you as a marketer or a growth person, you track what the hell happened, what the hell which one is hitting, is the attraction. And you're like, all right, let's take a bet. This one is the best one. Content was like pretty good. Like, let's go double down on content. And you hit it hard for like 3-4 months. You continue tracking. If it messes up, switch to another strategy. But you have to like do a little bit of experimentation. Right now, we are experimenting with all six right now. And I got a fair idea which one we're gonna go for, but we're still experimenting for all six. So that will give you an idea of how to grow in terms of source. What do you do exactly? You have limited time, right? Like, you can't do everything. Okay, go-to-market strategy is the one thing that every VC, when you go for funding, they'll ask you about. Like, what's your go-to-market strategy? And people come up with all kinds of bullshit. And honestly, I had this sleepless nights the other day because everything was happening in the marketplace, right? And I realized that our go-to-market strategy was complete dog shit. Because we initially were going for high-frequency traders as our first kind of like growth strategy, the most important one. And we know a lot of guys who are in trading. I was having lunch with them all week last week, and everyone pulled back from the market right now. Every single high-frequency algo trader or like professional trader right now is like, is really, really cautious right now. They're all de-risking. Everyone is pulling out from the market. So for us, what the hell do we do? Like, do we just like sit quietly for 3 months? But actually, in a way, the weird thing is, the marketplace is actually in our favor. Like SBF, I know everyone freaking hates him, but I kind of like him because he has made our story much more attractive. Think about self-custody, decentralization. That asshole made our story so much more attractive. So we're getting all these phone calls from everyone and everyone's asking us, when are you guys gonna go live? I want to trade on ZKX. I was like, shit, we've never thought about you as a user actually. We're thinking about all these high frequency traders instead. So our go-to-market strategy was messed up. And what we realized our big mistake was, we did not dig deep enough into the users when we're evaluating, into the habits, to really understand how and why and when they use their product. For example, one of my co-founders, he's buying like 1 ETH per day. Like that's his strategy right now. And I was like, oh, so you're automating at the moment. Like, you just buy 1 a day. He goes, yeah, I just kind of want buy 1 a day. Like, and I was like, oh, then you're kind of a case study of like someone who's like accumulating in the bear market, which you guys should be doing as well right now. But we don't have any automation on our platform right now. We just have like a DEX. Like, oh, we should do like automation, like, you know, this time every day or based on a certain trigger, you auto buy, and you just set and forget. So we never thought about him. And I was like, you wouldn't use ZKX because you didn't have that functionality you needed. So like would have been a really nice insight to pull out. Like another example is social trading. Like one of my friends, they have this social group where they share kind of signals about what to buy. And they're using Telegram at the moment, and they're all using different DEXs. But what if we integrate that social element into our DEX as well, so that people can kind of like track each other and have groups? And I was like, oh, we're kind of missing that feature too. So we're actually missing a lot of small features because we didn't understand deeply enough. Our eyes were on the wrong thing, and we didn't dig in deep enough to really understand how and when people are using their product. For example, if you're building a game, is your game the game which you would use when you got like 10 minutes on the toilet? You know, like, you'd actually, like, if it was, then you want to design your game to be playable within 10 minutes. Like, you can complete one level or like do one task in 10 minutes. If it's like a 4-hour game, you messed up. Like, you don't have product market fit. You will not get go-to-market strategy, will be a failure because you didn't design it in the right way. Like, another example is like, you know, when you go on the streets and stuff, even at nighttime, you have all these kids sitting in cafes, and they're all over their mobile phones, and a lot of them are playing together, right, in circles, and they're usually playing the same game. I've seen it all the time. So that would be like where you would, you know, make sure your game was like easily shareable, it has Bluetooth enabled in case you didn't have Wi-Fi or good signal. So like the usage would drive your product, okay? So that's really, really important. So the last thing is about tactics, and people often jump straight to tactics without thinking very deeply about growth sources and go-to-market strategy. And that's all a freaking waste of time if you do all these tactics without thinking about the deep thought about your users in the first place. And everyone knows about funnel, right? Like you know, like these typically 3 stages: awareness, consideration, and decision making. And that is still valid in Web 3. People like to dismiss Web 2 and technology and classic marketing and advertising But honestly, if you come from that background, a lot of these principles still apply in Web3 as well. And what you'll see over the next 1 year is a lot of failures, which is great, and you'll see a convergence of tactics, of both old school tactics and new school tactics, and merging them together. For example, the airdrop was like, the classic growth strategy back in the day, right? Tactic, like let's throw out some tokens to everyone. But it's such bullshit. Like Aptos is a really good example. I hope there's no one here from Aptos. But like, it's so stupid what they did, honestly. Like, they just gave away all their tokens, and most people just dumped on the Aptos token. And they didn't actually build a community around it. There's no loyalty. There's no retention whatsoever. People are just there to like collect $4,000 or $5,000 for an NFT, and they got the hell out of there. It's like ridiculous. Instead of that, they should have thought about like, drip feeding their tokens maybe for actual usage. So like, over the year or 2 years of using Aptos, you might get like, a few $1,000s. That would be a much better, effective, long-term strategy. But they didn't think that. See, intentions, right? Do you think they actually give a shit? Like for the long term, maybe they're just gonna make some like money over the next year and get the hell out of there and like start some new project. So like, it's really about you. Like, what is your intention? That drives your strategy for growth and for community. They had their strategy in their mind. Like they would make some quick money in a year or two, and they'll be like chilling in like the Bahamas or something next year. So like, you as a person, fine, you can do that too, but it shows what kind of person you are. Now, the other kind of like growth tactics are the classic ones, like SEO, social media, and email. Surprisingly, everyone shits on email, but email is actually, we have like maybe 15,000 people on our email list. And man, you'd be surprised. Most people read the email. Like when we post on Twitter and other places, like we get really relatively low engagement rates compared to email. Email's still really good. And I think SEO, old school, boring strategy is still really good. Most people make shitty content. So like, it's still like a really, really good source of traffic and everything. And the very complicated thing, I have a kind of this map of tools. So like in terms of tactics, you need some really good tools for Web3. It's in the old school days, you had this very clear tool structure for like SaaS tools, which give you a very clear idea about the user. So like, you know everything about that goddamn person, like where they are, what they eat, what they like, the media channels they use. Instead, now we have wallet IDs and very little information. And even recently, people are against giving out more and more information. Like, for example, like Uniswap are collecting a lot of information secretly, and everyone is kind of hating them. They actually lost revenue because of that over the last 1 week. Like, they went down like 15% because people are scared of using Uniswap now. MetaMask recently kind of was kind of unveiled as secretly tracking IP addresses and your wallet IDs and everything. They have this service called Infura, which is inside MetaMask. You can actually switch to another provider if you want to, but they're tracking your IPs. They know exactly where you are, what you're doing, and and who you're paying. So like, as a crypto person, do you really want to use MetaMask anymore? So like, these things actually really matter. Like, having Web3 native tools for some purposes is really important. So they're doing old school cookie tracking and all this kind of weird stuff, right? So tools come in 3 categories. One is CRMs, data analytics, and communication and messaging. For CRM, we're using this system called Crew3, which is also like a growth platform as well. And I find that to be really good, but there's actually lots of others as well. So I'll finish up there, and if you DM me, I'll send you all the research. There's a lot more like links, a lot more pages, a lot more text. You can study it. You'll study it next week when you go back home and you're more relaxed. And look up all the URLs. And I will share to you what we're doing, and I'll also share like our growth. And in terms of like, at some points we did something and something happened, and at some other points we tried other stuff and other things didn't happen as well. So it's very much an attitude of having good intentions, loving your users, your community, growing with them, using them to grow as well, and actually trying to give back to them in the right way. But also, as a result, you will become rich in the future as well if you do things in the right way. Okay, so thank you very much, and see you around in the conference. Cheers.
Thank you, Balal.